Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Great Day. A global phenomenon has landed in Houston for the weekend, Comicpalooza. The first printed cartoons and comic strips appeared in newspapers in the mid-1800s. The first actual comic book was published in 1897. From there, two storylines reigned supreme, detective and superhero comics. As entertaining as they are, there was once an anti-comic campaign claiming the story art could stunt a child's imagination and lead to juvenile delinquency. That drove many artists and writers underground, where the graphic novel was born. Needless to say, comics didn't go away. In fact, the genre just got bigger, coming off the page and onto the silver screen. The first comic convention was in 1970 in San Diego. It's now a worldwide arts convention with plenty of merch, like my son's Master Chief helmet from Halo. I didn't know it was such a big deal until I walked in the building this morning and people are like, wow. Okay, we'll go to Comicpalooza in downtown Houston in a few minutes, but first, let's meet two comic enthusiasts who love it so much they both open comic book stores. First up is Byron Kennedy with Gulf Coast Cosmos Comics in 3rd Ward. All right, Byron,
hey.
You're a child of the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, that's right.
Who love the comics. I was mentioning merch.
Yeah.
The lunchbox here. This is a cool thing. What kind of lunchbox did you have as a kid?
So I had Spider-Man. So I really, really, really loved Spider-Man.
Yeah, you have it on right now. Okay, I was so scarred as a child when I went to school because we waited too late to get a lunchbox. We went to the local Piggly Wiggly, and all I had they had left was Hogan's Hero. So I showed up at school with like Colonel Klink on my lunchbox. Yeah.
You know what? I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you.
You're laughing with me. All right. But it's so interesting when you look at what this whole thing has created. But as a kid, you've always wanted to have your own comic book store.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the comic book lover's dream to have their own comic book shop, and so I did.
Yeah. And you did. And where you put it is by purpose.
By purpose, definitely. So Gulf Coast Cosmos exists in the heart of 3rd Ward, Houston, because I wanted a place and a space that was indicative of the community that exists in. And 3rd Ward is famous for arts and culture and Black excellence.
Yeah. Well, we've also seen where comics, and the nice thing about that is that it has expanded where everybody can see themselves. First of all, I think the reason why we love it so much is it speaks to human beings, right?
Absolutely.
But the other thing is that they've expanded to where we see every human being in those superhero roles.
Most definitely. For every comic that you see here, there is an iteration of someone's existence. So we love to feature comics and graphic novels and manga from almost every single place on the globe. We even have some manga from Nigeria, so that's impressive. And we love to have that, especially our local comic book creators. We also prominently feature in the shop.
Yeah, that's really cool too, because if you're writing a story, and what's so neat about comics as well is I know some kids who may have had troubles reading, they can read a comic.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's not so long that they can't get through it, and of course they're immersed in it because there's action in it.
Absolutely. As an educator, I have found, and here's the statistical proof, that comic books actually engage and boost a child's reading level up 2 grades.
Wow.
So it's not punishment for kids to engage in comics and graphic novels, and I actually like to push for comics and graphic novels in classrooms.
Yeah. All right. Explain what a graphic novel is for someone who's not familiar with that term.
Sure, absolutely. So graphic novels are books, illustrated books that have never been a single issue comic book. Like this is a single issue, this little thin one right here. And this would be considered a graphic novel because it's a larger, more formatted book.
Yeah. You will be taking place in Comicpalooza.
Yes.
Or taking part, I should say.
Yeah. I'll be speaking this Saturday at Comicpalooza on Afrofuturism, which is a genre that is part of traditional books as well as comics and graphic novels.
Yeah. What are the most common questions people ask you about comics when they first kind of enter the comic world? Because it is a world, people. It is a world.
Yes. Actually, the biggest question that we always get at the shop is, where do I start?
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
That's always the first question. Where do I start?
Yeah.
And I always ask my my famous magic 4 questions. What are you currently reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to? And what are you eating?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think there are people who don't get it. They're like, what is going on? They drive by, Comicpalooza, what is happening here? But there are people who truly get it. Tie it all together for us, the reason why this is a global phenomenon.
Yes, absolutely. So Comicpalooza has stood as a way of communities coming together. Different comic book stores essentially are serving those communities, and Comicpalooza as an event is that perfect place for people to celebrate their fandom.
Yeah, all right. We also have with us somebody who somebody who was your mentor.
Yes.
TJ is the owner of Third Planet Sci-Fi Superstore, the oldest privately owned comic book store in Texas. He's also with us today. So hello. Hey. Say hello. Yeah.
Hey, TJ.
Yeah. And why was he your mentor?
Well, I've been going to Third Planet ever since I was a kid.
Oh.
So I couldn't think of a more perfect person to teach me the ways of comic book retail. He is literally the Obi-Wan to my Padawan.
The Obi-Wan. All right, TJ, let's see what the Obi-Wan brought with us here today. But that is the power of comic books, though, from generation to generation. As I mentioned earlier, kind of the mid-1800s where we started seeing comics and newspapers, and then there were comic books and things, and it is kind of a connective tissue, isn't it?
Correct. And it gets passed down. We've been going on 49 years in business now, and I have people that have been with me the full 49 years, and their kids are bringing in their kids now. And we actually have a kid-friendly section in our store so that they can go and tear those books up.
Yeah, yeah.
But learn how to read and so forth.
I remember as a kid, we'd make a beeline for the Sunday newspaper and all try to grab, our favorite comics and things like that. Your dad would bring comic books home to you.
No.
Or comics?
No.
Okay.
We basically, when I was a kid, we cashed in the Coke bottles.
Oh, there you go.
And we bought them off the 7-Eleven store.
Yeah, and some of y'all don't remember that, but we'd go around the neighborhood looking for Coke bottles and things to take in. I think you got like a nickel for it or whatever. Yeah.
2 cents to a nickel as time went by. That was 1950s.
Okay, so that you got your own. Your dad didn't bring them home for you. You got your own comic books there. What made you decide that I want to open this store?
Well, I was doing conventions, and I was also working in the oil business, and I got laid off one time too many. And I'd seen a documentary on, at that time, millionaires who were the top dogs, that they were self-made, and they were said the best thing ever happened to them. They either got laid off or fired, and they said, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, yeah, we saw that happen a lot with a lot of folks during even the pandemic, and you've lasted through all those things. Yeah. All right, what are some of the things that you have here for us?
I brought in a lot of first appearances. This is the first appearance of Wolverine, full appearance. He is heavily sought after. Then I got the first Avengers comic, where all the Avengers come together. This is basically the first Marvel super team in Silver Age time. They got the Star Wars that everybody knows about. That's the very first Star Wars comic.
Yeah, in fact, George Lucas is one of the people who is credited with saying, okay, now let's put some merchandise along with it, more so than anybody had done before, and that became its own multi-billion-dollar business.
Correct, and it is a multi-billion-dollar business. This is what they call a slab. It's been sent off to be professionally graded. This is the same book, except it's called Raw.
Oh, okay.
And so it's not worth as much. Also, it depends on the condition of the book.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is another business, is people who trade comic books. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people buy them and speculate, and then others buy them just to collect them, and hopefully they'll go up in value. But a true collector buys it because they enjoy it, not because it's going to go up in value.
Yeah. What's the one comic book, if you could get your hands on, that you want? You probably already have it.
I've got a Fantasy 15, Amazing Fantasy 15, which is the first appearance of Spider-Man. That's a $75,000 book.
Wow.
I've got this one here is the first X-Men. This one's a $20,000 book.
You're making me wish I'd held on to some of my things that I did not. All right. You have all kinds of things in this store, just like with Byron, not just the comic books and things like that, but you have these as well. Stephanie McFall, come on in here. So Stephanie, you're the general manager of Third Planet Sci-Fi Superstore. I heard you talking earlier about, were you an engineer before, or something? You worked with engineers?
I did technical support for AutoCAD before I worked in the comic book industry.
Yeah. And you said there was one moment where you just said, I can have more fun in my life.
Absolutely, yes. And it was, I happened to know the previous manager, and they said, hey, I need some help at the store. And that was 11 years ago. And my love for the industry and my own personal collection have just grown since.
She's such a cool chick. You show up with dinosaur earrings, and I'm gonna move your bangs right here. And, and bright blue eyebrows.
Blue like the color of our store.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. There you go. All right. So these are those books, those kind of graphic novels that we were talking about, but not all. You get to discover new characters.
Absolutely. So like Byron was discussing, and like TJ was showing, a lot of people are going to be predominantly familiar with the superhero genre. You know, that's what's going to be on like the movies and the shows and the science fiction with Star Wars. But comics have expanded so significantly to cover many different genres. So we've got the Tea Dragon Society, which is a great all ages book about the care for magical dragons that produce tea leaves on their horns. It's very cute. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be familiar with Nimona. That's on Netflix, actually. It's about a shapeshifter and a alleged supervillain who are basically trying to clear their name in the society that has labeled them evil and different. Okay. Another Netflix favorite of mine is Way of the House Husband. It's about a reformed Yakuza member who now spins it. Yeah. Oh. There you go. If you ever want to know what an ideal man is like, read this.
All right there. And when you come into the store, there's so much to see, but you can walk us through it, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And we have everything organized alphabetically. My entire staff is excited to always give recommendations, and there's always something for everybody.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming in this morning and giving us a glimpse of what's in your stores. For more information on Third Planet Sci-Fi Superstore or Gulf Coast Cosmos Comics, visit greatdayhouston.com and we'll connect you. Okay, this is the ideal. Okay, up next, talk